Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the chapter The Fun They Had by Isaac Asimov. In this video we will be discussing about the author, the detailed summary, then the short summary or revision, and finally the textual questions and answers. This is Isaac Asimov. He was born on January 2nd, 1920 in Russia. His first novel is Pebble in the Sky. He was a prolific writer. Now, who is a prolific writer? A prolific writer is a person who writes many works. Isaac Asimov has written and edited more than 500 works. He was known for his works of science fiction. Now, what is a fiction? Fiction are imaginary stories or events. He died on April 6, 1992 at the age of 72. In this chapter beginning, we discuss about the schools of future. Unlike the present school, in the future, the education will be taken up by the computers or technology. It will be either learning through computers or through virtual classroom. Like in this COVID era, the education has become online. It will be like virtual classroom, or the teacher will be replaced by robotic teacher. Or it can be either moving e-text, which is similar to learning through computers. Now let's move to the chapter. The Fun They Had is a story of two children, Maggie and Tommy. Maggie is 11 years old and Tommy is 13 years old. Maggie even wrote it that night in her diary on the page headed 17th May 2157. She wrote, "Today, Tommy found a real book." So from the date of the diary, we can understand that the story is set in future, that is in 2157, which is 150, almost 150 years ahead from the present. And what did she write? She wrote that Tommy found a real book. Now, what is a real book? As you see in the picture, real book is something which we can actually hold physically, which the normal books that we have in this present period. In future, that is in 2157, the book will not exist. It will be replaced by technology, by computer and other devices. It was a very old book. Maggie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. Now we can understand that Maggie has never seen a book by herself. She only heard about the book from her grandfather. They turned the pages. Who turned the pages? Maggie and Tommy. They turned the pages which were yellow and crinkly. Why yellow? Because when the books get old, the old books will turn yellowish in color. And crinkly. What does crinkly mean? With many folds or lines. When it is an old book, normally the books will be having many folds or lines. And it was awfully funny. Awfully here means seriously. To read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen. So for them, a book or the text or the words without moving was very much strange. They were only used to the computer, and on that the words actually moved when they scroll up and scroll down, whereas in a book the words stood still. So it was very much surprising for them. And then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time. So they turned the page, and when they turned the page again back, the words were still the same. It was something new to both Maggie and Tommy. Unlike the words on the computer, it actually did not move. "Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste. When you're through with the book, you just throw it away, I guess. Our television screen must have had 1,000,000 books on it, and it's good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away." So now, Tommy calls a book a waste. Why does he call a book a waste? Because when one person reads the book and completely reads the book, there is no use of the book and he throws it away. That is how Tommy considers the book to be. But whereas a television that they possess has a million books on it. What does a million mean? Million means 10 lakh. And Tommy says that it can occupy many more books. So he wouldn't throw it away because it carries lots of information. Same with mine. So Margie also agrees with Tommy. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. Here is where the age of Margie and Tommy is revealed. She said, "Where did you find it?" "In my house." He pointed without looking because he was busy reading. "In the attic." So now, where did Tommy found the book? Tommy found the book in the attic. As you see in this image, attic is a space just below the roof used as a storeroom. You can see in the image. "What is it about?" asks whom? Margie. "School," replies Tommy. Margie was scornful. "School? What's there to write about school? I hate school." So Margie was thinking, why would somebody write about school? Because that is the last thing that Margie would write, because she hated school. Margie always hated school. But now she hated it more than ever. Let's see why Margie hated school more than ever. The reason is the mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. Oh, so this is the reason. Why? Because the geography mechanical teacher was giving her lots of tests and her mark was dropping down like anything. And her mother understood there is something wrong with this computer or the television. And so what did she do? She actually sent for the county inspector. Now who is a county inspector? County inspector is a person who checks and repairs the mechanical teacher. Something like a technician. Now the description of the county inspector is given in the next paragraph. How does he look? He was a round little man with red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple. Okay, so the county inspector is something like this, with round little man with a red face and a whole box with dials and wires. And it seems that he is a good man, because he smiled at Margie and even offered an apple. And then what did he do? He took the teacher apart. The teacher is the television. He started repairing it. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again. But he knew how all right. And after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. So now Margie for a moment wished that this county inspector would not be successful in reassembling the teacher. But the county inspector was an expert and he made everything all right, and her teacher was large and black and ugly, and everything, all the questions were asked in a normal way. That wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. Now take care of this carefully. Which is the part that Margie hated the most? It was the slot where she had to put the homework and the test paper. What is a slot now? Slot is a given space, time or position. So she hated the slot for homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code they made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. See, in our cases, we were taught how to write alphabets at the age of 6. But here in the future, they will be taught the punch code at the age of 6. And then They have to write all the homeworks and test papers and then submit it to the mechanical teacher. We needn't wait for days to get the marks. Everything was given immediately. The teacher calculated the marks in no time. It means immediately the marks were given to Maggie. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted Maggie's head. What does patted mean? Patted means touch quickly and gently with the flat of the hand. Now the inspector was happy that the computer or the teacher was all right. He said to her mother, "It's not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick." Geared a little too quick means adjusted to a particular standard or level. Those things happen sometimes. I have slowed it up to an average 10-year level. Actually, the overall pattern of our progress is quite satisfactory. And he patted Maggie's head again. So what is it? Mrs. Jones. Who is Mrs. Jones? It is Maggie's mother. Mrs. Jones and County Inspector has a conversation over here, and County Inspector says that it was not the fault of our little Maggie, but the teacher was set to a high standard. That is why she was not able to complete or do the text paper well. That is why her marks were dropping down. Maggie was disappointed. Maggie was very sad that her teacher was all right. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. Oh, so this was what she was wishing for. She thought that, like the Tommy's teacher was taken away when her history teacher had blanked out means became empty, she thought that her teacher will also be taken away so that she can sit in her house relaxed. But that didn't happen in her case. The teacher was made perfect very suddenly. So she said to Tommy, why would anyone write about school? She hated school like anything. Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes. Superior means showing an overly high opinion of oneself. And he said, because it's not our kind of school, stupid. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago. He added loftily, pronouncing the words carefully, centuries ago. So now we can understand that Tommy has a little idea about what school looked like in olden days. Okay, so he is saying that it is not our kind of school that existed centuries ago. Century means 100 years. Centuries ago. But it was something different. Maggie was hurt. Well, I don't know what kind of school they had all that time ago. So she accepted that she did not know what kind of school existed before. She read the book over his shoulder for a while, like this, that's shown in the picture. Then she said, anyway, they had a teacher. Maggie and Tommy together started reading the book, and they understood that they had a teacher. Sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher, it was a man. So here, regular means what? Normal, of the usual kind. For them, what is normal? That is a mechanical teacher. So they are saying that it wasn't a regular teacher, it wasn't a mechanical teacher, but it was a man. Who says this? Tommy says this. A man? Maggie is now very surprised. How could a man be a teacher? Well, he just told the boys and girls things and gave them homework and asked them questions. A man isn't smart enough. So for Maggie, a human being cannot be as smart and intelligent as a mechanical teacher. But Tommy says that, sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher. He knows almost as much. I betcha. Here, I betcha means I bet you. So in fast speech, you convert bet you into betcha. As want to as wanna, going to as gonna. You say bet you as betcha. So Tommy is saying that my father knows as much as my teacher. He is very intelligent and very smart. Maggie wasn't prepared to dispute that, so she did not want to argue on that topic. She said, I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me. So she thought that in old school, a strange man will be coming to their house and teaching. So by hearing it, Tommy just screamed with laughter. You don't know much, Maggie. The teachers didn't live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there. So now Tommy is explaining to Maggie how the school looked like. It is a special building and all the kids went there. Also the teacher went there to teach them. And the teachers didn't live in the house. They went to special building to teach the children. And all the kids learned the same thing? Sure, if they were the same age. So Tommy clears the doubt of Maggie that all the children of the same age learned the same thing. But my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl. It teaches and that each kid has to be taught differently. So here, poor Maggie, the ignorant sweet little Maggie says that, my mother has said that each boy and girl had to be taught differently because the level of each children is different. So for them, that is the case. But whereas in the olden times, or for them, the olden times, every child of each same age will be taught in the same class. Just the same, they didn't do it that way then, explains Tommy. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book. Now, Tommy is very angry because she is, countering all the points. So he says that if you don't like the book, just don't read it. Maggie says, I didn't say I didn't like it. Maggie said quickly. She wanted to read about those funny schools. They weren't even half finished when Maggie's mother called. Maggie, school. Maggie looked up. Not yet, Mama. Now, said Mrs. Jones, and it's probably time for Tommy too. So now, while they were reading, and it was only half the way, then the mother called to say that, see, it is school time now. She was not ready, but mother did not listen to her. Maggie said to Tommy, can I read the book some more with you after the school? So now Maggie was very interested in reading the book and knowing about the school. Maybe, he said nonchalantly. Now what's nonchalantly? Not showing much interest or enthusiasm. That's carelessly. So he said, look, maybe. And he walked away whistling the dusty old book tucked beneath his arm. Tucked beneath his arm means you can see in this image how the book is being held. Maggie went to the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom. See how the school in the future will be. The school will be right next to her bedroom, and the mechanical teacher was on and waiting for her. It was always on at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday. Okay, so every day the school was at the regular time except for Saturday and Sunday. Because her mother said little girls learned better if they learned at regular hours. This was the explanation. Maggie's mother, Mrs. Jones, thought that little girls will learn better if they learned at regular hours. The screen was lit up and it said, today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fractions. Please insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot. And see, this would have been probably the emotion or the expression of Maggie at that time. Maggie did so with a sigh. This is how a sigh is, a long, deep, audible breath expressing sadness. Ha! She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. Even though she was sitting in the school, she was thinking about something else. She was not at all listening to her class. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came, laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same things, so they could help one another with the homework and talked about. So these are the thoughts of the old school is what is going through Maggie's head right now. And the teachers were people. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. When we add fractions, half and Maggie was thinking about how the kids must have loved it in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. So this is from where the chapter gets its title, the fun they had. She was totally immersed in the thought of the old school. The next short summary and textual questions and answers will be continued in the next video. Thank you.